Thank you, Premier. Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claire Trevena, and I'm British Columbia's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. I'd like to acknowledge we are gathered today on the territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh and Squamish peoples. And with me today are Premier John Horgan, the Honourable Joyce Murray, Minister of Digital Government and Member of Parliament for Vancouver Quadra, Vancouver's Mayor, Kennedy Stewart, and Misa Ladrak, President and General Manager for British Columbia Rapid Transit Company. Michelle oversees the operation and maintenance of Metro Vancouver's Expo and Millennium SkyTrain lines and the West Coast Express. We're here today to talk about the Broadway subway project. That's about getting people out of traffic, cutting pollution with cleaner, greener and rapid transit. With more, it's my pleasure to introduce Minister Joyce Murray.
Good morning, and thank you, Minister Trevena, for the kind introduction. I'm pleased to be here today with Premier Horgan, Minister Trevena, Mayor Stewart, and Mr. Ladrak on behalf of the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities. And I'd also like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish First Nations. The Government of Canada is working closely with municipalities, partners and stakeholders to get projects built quickly, projects that make a positive difference in the lives of Canadians. And we're making investments in infrastructure to grow the economy and create good jobs, improving people's quality of life and protecting the environment while doing so. So I'm happy to say that the Broadway subway project will do just those things. It'll create jobs during construction and support long-term economic development. And I understand there has been ample consultation with the communities along the way to make sure that this is done in a good way. It will improve people's lives by providing a fast, reliable, and new public transportation option along one of our busiest corridors, leading right to my office, I might add, which is right at Broadway in Arbutus. So I'm pleased to be welcoming people to visit me more easily and quickly. And it will help reduce harmful emissions by encouraging more people to leave their cars at home. The Government of Canada has contributed almost $900 million to this project, and I'm thrilled to be helping celebrate the important next step in bringing it to life for Vancouverites. Through our historic Investing in Canada plan, we're delivering on our promise to build sustainable, resilient communities. Here in British Columbia, we've invested $4.2 billion through our infrastructure plan in 525 projects across the province, projects that are strengthening the communities where you live and raise your families and work. If anything good has come out of this pandemic, it's a heightened awareness of what it means to be part of a community, how crucial it is that we know one another, that we can count on each other, we look out for each other, and we protect each other and see every day that our community is what we choose to make of it together. Infrastructure investments support and strengthen that process and support communities across Canada. So putting tax dollars to work in cleaner transportation options like the Broadway subway helps create good jobs, stabilize the economy, and get communities back on their feet. So it's now my great pleasure to introduce the Honourable John Horgan, Premier of British Columbia. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Murray. It's great to be here in the great city of Vancouver with a backdrop that is second to none. I know that all Canadians, when they look to British Columbia on a sunny day like today, wish they, too, were citizens of this great city and this great province. I want to acknowledge, as the Minister did, that we are on the unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I want to thank Minister Trevena for all of the work that she has done with our partners in the federal government as well as at the municipal level, working in conjunction with Minister Robinson, who's responsible for municipal affairs, and TransLink. Together, the federal government, the provincial government, the City of Vancouver, TransLink, and the Mayor's Council have been working diligently to deliver the type of transit system that British Columbia in its major urban centre most truly deserves. The Mayor's 10-year vision for transit is being realized today with the announcement of a tender process that will be beginning, I guess, when I get to it in a minute or two. But before I get to that point, I want to just touch on some of the comments that Minister Murray just touched upon, that being that we are, of course, in a global pandemic. We are in unprecedented times. Every day brings new challenges for families, for businesses, for workers, for governments, all orders of governments, Indigenous communities. Everyone has been adversely affected by COVID-19. But what we've seen in British Columbia is unprecedented cooperation between political entities, whether they be left or right, green or brown, federal, provincial, or municipal, everybody pulling together to focus on the needs of people. And that's why I'm proud to announce, as part of BC's Safe Restart, that major infrastructure projects like the Broadway subway line are key to our economic recovery. When completed, the Broadway subway line will transform Vancouver, bringing people from one end to the other, one side to the other, culminating, of course, at this point at Arbutus. And I know Mayor Kennedy Stewart will have something to say about getting to UBC. This is a high priority for Phase 3 of the Mayor's vision, but we're working on getting Phase 2 completed, and that starts by making sure that we're connecting our tech hubs, connecting our job generators here in the Lower Mainland. And so I'm pleased to announce today that we have awarded a contract to Acciona Gazelle to joint venture design and construct the Broadway subway extension beginning this fall and completing the project in 2025. I'm proud that this project will also be under a community benefits agreement, ensuring that local hire is a first priority, that training the next generation of skilled workers, women, Indigenous peoples, and others who have oftentimes been taken out of the equation when it comes to apprenticeships will be at the front of the line to get jobs and training on this very, very important project. As we start the economic recovery coming out of the pandemic, we need to focus on the cooperation and the partnerships that are evident today with the announcement of the Broadway subway line. I want to thank the mayors who came before and the mayors that are here today, and then, of course, the mayors that will come after us in making sure that we are consistent in delivering for the people of British Columbia and the people of Vancouver. It's absolutely critical that we put aside politics and focus on the needs of all British Columbians at this important time. And with that, as we build back better here in British Columbia, I would invite Mayor Kennedy Stewart to come and say a few words on behalf of the City of Vancouver, a very key partner in this undertaking.
Good morning. Before I begin, I too would like to acknowledge that we're on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and I want to thank them for their generosity to all who inhabit their land. I want to thank Minister Murray for being here and the stellar work she does to represent our city in Ottawa, BC RTC President Ladrak, and our amazing City of Vancouver staff team. What a team we have here. Okay, can you believe what's happening here today? We are starting on the Broadway subway. This is just totally amazing, and sometimes it's hard to get your head around, but this is actually now rolling out, and it's just such a great thing, and I'm just so excited about it because we've been working on it for a long time. Mayor's Council, mayors and councils before us here in Vancouver, and it is such a big day. I also, of course, want to thank Premier Horgan and Minister Trevena for being here today. And before I say more on the Broadway subway, I just want to take a moment and thank the Premier for just a few of the things he and his government have done for this city. 2 days ago, I stood with Housing Minister Selina Robinson to announce a partnership agreement between the City of Vancouver and the Province of BC to deliver another 450 homes for those struggling with homelessness in our city. The city and the provincial government have partnered to provide almost 1,500 homes to the vulnerable in Vancouver, the largest social housing investment in our history. Now, last year I stood with the Premier to announce another historic partnership, an investment of $33 million to help us build over 1,100 new childcare spaces in city facilities, all slated to be covered within the $10 a day childcare program. Now, that's incredible partnership. And today is yet another great day for Vancouver, thanks to another great partnership between the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. The Broadway subway means less congestion, better transit, more rental housing, thousands of high-paying construction jobs, and it'll be an important weapon in our fight against climate change. The Broadway corridor is the second largest employment center in British Columbia with more than 85,000 jobs. But as we all know, growing traffic congestion, transit overcrowding, stymie workforce productivity, negatively impacting economic growth, as well as the quality of life for residents. That's why this subway project is so important. So many residents are either stuck in traffic or waiting for overcrowded buses. The Broadway line will change all this by providing fast and reliable transit that can get people to work on time with fewer headaches. The people of our region who come to Broadway every day deserve a faster commute with less congestion and less hassle so they can spend more time earning a living and more time with the people they love. And that's really what it's all about. Better still, the Broadway subway will enable many new opportunities to live in Vancouver as we build rental housing along the line, much of which will be affordable to working people, such as the new modern income rental housing pilot project building Council just approved at Broadway and Birch. The Broadway line will allow us to preserve and build homes that are steps away from high-quality, rapid transit, helping create walkable, transit-oriented communities. The project will also help address the realities of our climate emergency. More people using transit means fewer people in cars and lower carbon emissions. Now get this one. The Broadway extension means 14 million fewer cars on the road by the year 2030. 14 million reduced annually. And I'm just loving the thousands of construction jobs that this project creates. This announcement is the first concrete step toward completing this project. With construction starting soon, we will soon realize an even better Broadway. With high-quality, accessible transit, Broadway can become one of the great streets of our country. A place where people can get to work without worrying about overcrowded commutes, a central hub connecting people and their families to the businesses and services they need, and a neighborhood where Vancouverites can have a home to grow with their loved ones. We're that much closer to making this a reality. And personally, I am so honored to be leading a team that is making all this happen at the city. And I want to thank current and past councils for their dedication to this project, as well as my colleagues at Translake Mayor's Council. So thanks so much. It's a great day today. And now I'd like to introduce BC RTC President Misa Ladrak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. Good morning, everyone. My name is Misa Ladrak. I'm the president of BCRTC, but for most people that's just SkyTrain and West Coast Express. Under the TransLink umbrella, I oversee the operation of and the maintenance of the Millennium Line and the Expo Line. And soon, and that's the exciting part, also the Broadway subway extension. I'm excited to be here at Vancouver City Hall on this exciting occasion, announcing the next big step in bringing this Broadway subway project to fruition. And being myself a massive fan of transit, I know that this will be a real game changer for Vancouver. Just a few hundred meters away, I think it's over there, you have the Broadway City Hall station, which will give you access to rapid transit throughout the region on the Canada and Millennium Lines. Located right in the middle of the extension, Broadway City Hall Station will serve as a major transit hub for this busy corridor, enabling fast, frequent and convenient access to jobs, services and popular tourist destinations. When the mayor's 10-year vision originally outlined key transit and transportation investment way back in 2014, we knew that creating rapid transit along this corridor was vital to keeping the region moving. And it still is. The Broadway subway project has seen collaboration from all levels of government who agree that it's vital to grow the Metro Vancouver region. The mayors worked with the province and the federal partners to secure funding, and we have been working closely with the province and the city of Vancouver to turn this vision into reality. While our ridership patterns have vastly changed because of the pandemic, there's no doubt in my mind that we're looking at a very sunny future. Year after year before the pandemic, Metro Vancouver was one of the fastest growing regions for transit ridership in North America. And I personally have full confidence that in the next 30, 50, 20 or even 5 or 2 years, the resiliency of Metro Vancouverites and the demand will come back and will rebound and will continue its unprecedented growth that we've seen in the past. I think this extension will be a major part of satisfying that demand and keeping that momentum alive. And when we look at the future, and I think this is where the crucial numbers come in, the Broadway subway will lighten the load of passengers on bus routes, and will certainly lighten the load on our buses right here on the Broadway corridor. To me, it was amazing to learn that we have on average 57,000 boardings a day on the 99B line. That makes it the busiest route in Canada and the USA. It's unbelievable. That means on average a full BC place boarded the 99B line every weekday last year. That's a lot of people. But when built, the Broadway extension will be able to move over 3 times as many people. Each hour the extension will be able to move more than 7,000 people in each direction, and that's 3.5 times more than we can do today. That expanded capacity is much needed, considering that we expect 1 million new residents and 600,000 new jobs in Metro Vancouver over the next 30 years. When I'm looking at the benefits, I'm confident this project will help to keep the region moving with fast, frequent, convenient travel, relieving crowding and congestion in a critical economic center of the region. It will incentivize people to get out of their cars, to use transit, helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and help make transport in general more sustainable. The team at TransLink, my team at TransLink, continues to support the province in delivering this important extension. We have been working closely with the province and the city of Vancouver on a number of key pieces in the lead up to construction this fall. And that includes relocating the trolley wires to adjacent streets to support the relocation of buses off Broadway. We've done system power upgrades, and we have a supportive policies agreement in place that further outlines a commitment to this important initiative. TransLink is tremendously excited for this important next step in the project, and the announcement of this contract award is only just the beginning. We're looking forward to continuing to work with all our partners to make this extension an enormous success. Thank you. It was my pleasure to, and it's my pleasure to welcome back Minister for Infrastructure, the Honourable Claire Trevena. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I think that the message is loud and clear that this Broadway extension to Arbutus is going to be so significant for everyone living and working in Metro Vancouver, where they're going to school, where they're going to work, where they're starting business, or just getting to family. It is going to relieve congestion and make sure that people really are able to move easily through one of the busiest parts of Vancouver. And as the Premier said, as we restore the economy through BC's Restart Plan, major infrastructure projects like this project and services like transit are going to be key to our recovery. And with that, I'd like to ask Premier Horgan back to the podium as we open the line for any questions.
A reminder to reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. If you've already pressed it, try it again just to make sure we see you in the queue. We're doing one question and one follow-up, and we're going to start today with Penny Daflos.
Thanks very much for taking my call. I just want to know what the plans are at this point for west of Arbutus and whether federal stimulus funding will factor into those plans.
Is that extending on from Arbutus to UBC? Is that the question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, we've Kennedy doesn't miss an opportunity to raise this issue with me or with Minister Trevena and Minister Robinson. Clearly, connecting all of the important hubs in the Lower Mainland is the objective of the Mayor's Council and the vision that the mayors started with their 10-year plan. But we need to get Phase 2 started, and that's what we're doing today, this fall. And discussions will continue. Minister Murray, very much an integral part of the decision-making processes with the federal government here in Vancouver, is very helpful. I met with the Prime Minister yesterday. We discussed a range of options, including further infrastructure investments, joint ventured with Ottawa, Victoria, and other parts of British Columbia. So I'm confident that once we get this underway, we'll be starting immediately with the planning for the extension beyond there to UBC. And also, of course, it's important to remember that when the Prime Minister and I announced the cooperation between the two senior orders of government back 2 Septembers ago, it also included significant investments in transportation improvements south of the Fraser. The advent of elections meant that we left behind the light rail option and have moved now to exploring a SkyTrain expansion in Surrey towards Langley. Those discussions are underway, and those projects will be announced shortly.
Do you have a follow-up, Penny?
Yeah, I do. Premier, I mean, you mentioned elections last time, and I'm just wondering, how concerned are you that a federal election could happen in the next few months and put a lot of that federal funding and that cooperation with provinces in jeopardy?
Well, I think one of the advantages for the public is that when elections do happen, the last federal election, for example, was an opportunity for voters to ask all political parties what their views were on, for example, significant infrastructure investments like the Massey replacement project. Having all political parties, all political stripes acknowledging the importance of these infrastructure investments gives me confidence that certainly we have very strong partners today, and I'm hopeful we'll have very strong partners in the future. But we are committed at the provincial level, and I know the Mayor's Council is, and the current federal government, to continue building on the success that we've had, ensuring that we have a dynamic public transit system here that is the envy of North America.
Our next question is from Richard Zisman. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'm here, Jen. Sorry about that. Premier, just to change topics quickly, we're expecting to see modeling numbers later today, and the anticipation will be that the trend continues, that cases of COVID-19 are growing in this province. At what point do you concede that, people aren't getting the message around "Come on, man," or from Seth Rogen or Ryan Reynolds, and there needs to be a shift in the way you're communicating with people around cutting down on the spread of the virus?
Well, certainly under the leadership of Minister Dix and Dr. Henry, we have been working overtime to make sure that the public fully understands that we are continuing to be in the grip of a global pandemic. We see increased caseloads across Canada. Just to the south of us, I spoke with Governor Inslee yesterday. They had 3,500 new cases last week to this week. There is a significant challenge in the community, and the public needs to be responsive to that messaging coming from Dr. Henry, Minister Dix, myself, and any number of other people. What's critically important, of course, is that as we increase our interactions, we redouble our efforts to wear masks, we redouble our efforts to ensure that we keep safe physical distances, and that we keep in mind not just ourselves, but our loved ones, those that are within our family units, those that are within our bubble. And there are vulnerable people in British Columbia that we need to protect, and it's the responsibility of all of us to do that. I'm not going to concede anything with respect to the premise of your question. I believe that the goodwill of British Columbians will win out. If that's not successful, Minister Farnworth has announced and has in fact issued significant fines for people who will disregard these basic public health orders. And we'll continue with that method of carrot and stick until we get the types of outcomes that all British Columbians want to see. Do
you have a follow-up, Richard?
I do. And one of the next steps, obviously, is the return to school next week. we anticipate Minister Fleming will give us some more details later today about the federal funding. But holistically, what would you say to parents, to teachers, around whether there is enough time at this point to make the changes to make people feel comfortable about returning to classes a week from today?
Well, I certainly understand the anxiety that parents, teachers, and children are feeling, the uncertainty that we've had since March, quite frankly, with a brief visit to voluntary classroom teaching and virtual teaching in June. That gave us a good starting point. I had a long meeting with Terry Mooring of the BC Teachers Federation and her executive yesterday with Minister Fleming. We talked about a range of options for the $242 million that the federal government, and I thank you, Minister Murray, that the federal government has put into what is exclusively provincial jurisdiction. When the Prime Minister made the announcement of education funding across the country, he did so because he understood the importance to our economic well-being and, of course, to our children and our families that we have a safe restart when it comes to our K-12 system. I believe we have ample time to make the changes that we'll need going forward. And I said to Terry Mooring, and I say to parents today, that Minister Fleming and this government will be focused every day on making sure that children are safe, that families are safe, and those that work inside our school system are safe. And there is no rigid plan other than the plan to get started and make sure that we have in place the physical distancing guidelines that we need, hand washing ability, and the cohorts that we're developing. And that was in concert with advisory groups from trustees, parents, teachers, administrators, all working collaboratively. We've had the 60 school districts canvass parents. On average, about 80% or better are ready, willing, and able to send their kids back to school next week. Teachers will be in class at the beginning of the week, and then we'll start the process of developing the plan that will get us through next week, next month, and into the spring. And that's how we have to operate, Richard. This is not about, here's the plan, we're sticking with it. Here's the start, and we will amend the plan as we need to meet the needs of safety and a quality education for our kids.
Our next question is from Mary Griffin.
Oh, hi. Thanks very much for taking my question. Premier, since the Centennial Square homeless encampment in Victoria was shut down, another camp is now growing in Central Park, and there's more than 70 tents. And there's growing safety issues there because neighbors say the problem has become a whack-a-mole situation where you close one camp and another just pops up somewhere else. And they're demanding that the province take immediate action to fix it. Just wondering, what hope can you give them today that this problem will be immediately addressed? Well,
we have been working all throughout the pandemic as we saw SROs closing down, overnight opportunities for cover shut down because of physical distancing requirements. We've seen a proliferation of homelessness, not just in Victoria, not just in Vancouver, but indeed across the province. And we've been working with our municipal partners in Victoria particularly to find ways to assist. Oppenheimer Park, which was a challenge here for many, many years, has been closed down only to create another challenge at Strathcona. And again, the Parks Board, the City of Vancouver, and the province and the federal government are all coordinating efforts to try and address those issues. Mayor Stewart talked about 450 units announced just this week. With respect to Victoria, you'll remember that we stepped in to address the encampments on Pandora Avenue and on Topaz Avenue. Some 600 people were found accommodation, and yet here we are continuing to see growth in our public spaces. So we're going to continue to work with the city, with the federal government, and other partners to find space and homes for these vulnerable populations. But we also want to send a clear message to those who are taking advantage of vulnerable people for criminal activity that law enforcement is there to protect citizens. And I give full credit to the City of Victoria, Del Manic and the City of Victoria Police for being compassionate and forward-looking and addressing significant challenges with homelessness. And we're going to keep going at this. This is not something that just arrived yesterday, and it's not something that will go away tomorrow. But if we all have goodwill and we all focus on objectives that will make people safe and get people that are vulnerable into the treatment that they need or the housing that they need, that's our focus, and we'll keep doing that.
Do you have a follow-up, Mary?
I do. Thanks, Jen. a lot of work has been done, and it's true that clearly it's not enough when you look at the camps in Beacon Hill Park and Central Park. It's still very much a problem, as you mentioned. Is there no way to alleviate the problem in the short term, or are we looking at this as a new reality?
Well, I don't. Well, thank you, and I think that's an appropriate question. I think that citizens in Victoria, particularly, that's my hometown, and I can speak directly to that, are aghast that what was once a community that had little or no homelessness now has significant amounts of homelessness, and these are issues that we are all responsible for. There are our brothers and our sisters and our mothers and our fathers that are displaced for no fault of their own in most instances, and we need to offer hands up and help when we can. But we also need to send a message to those who take advantage of those who are in vulnerable situations, and that's what the City of Victoria has done by moving in on dispersing the Centennial Square encampment. And we'll continue to work with the city and law enforcement and providing, of course, the services. Having a dedicated Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions is very helpful at this moment in our history when we're dealing with a global pandemic and we're dealing with an opioid crisis that continues to worsen month by month. We all need to recognize that although we don't like to see people living rough in our neighborhoods, we need to be more compassionate. We need to focus on making sure that all orders of government, all of those not-for-profits who have also been compromised because of COVID-19, they're minimal staffed. Many of the volunteers that used to be in place and in shelters and other locations are seniors and are vulnerable populations when it comes to COVID. So this is a complex issue. People understand that. And I appeal for patience, and I also reach out again to our municipal leaders across the province. It's not just Victoria and Vancouver. It's Nanaimo, it's Kelowna, it's Smithers. It's every corner of British Columbia has been affected by a significant disruption in what we would characterize as normal. It's a global pandemic, and we can't forget that, but we can't use that as an excuse for inaction. We continue to have to take steps to meet the needs of populations right across the province.
Our next question is from Lisa Yuzda. Go ahead, Lisa.
More to that, and perhaps this is more for Mayor Kennedy. Regarding the camp in Strathcona, we talked the other day with Minister Robinson about the housing that's coming next year. Talking to the Residents Association, they're saying it's a crisis now, and it's only getting worse. The bathrooms are failing. There's increased conflict between people camping there and other people living there, including conflict with children, which they expect will only increase as kids return to schools. And one of the things they're suggesting is perhaps we need, and perhaps the same kind of thing we need in Victoria, is some sort of emergency, like a disaster relief type tent. And they're suggesting, the St. Paul's, where St. Paul's is going to go. Is there room for something like that when winter is coming, people are living in close quarters, and we are in the middle of a pandemic, for something thinking outside the box of looking at something like an emergency relief type housing situation?
Right. Thank you for the question. Just to echo the Premier's comments is that, we're all in this together, and we've got to recognize that we're in the middle of a global pandemic, which has forced physical distancing in our shelter spaces, has meant that people living in the 7,000 SRO rooms in our city can no longer have guests overnight. So it really has, exasperated the homelessness crisis here in the city. I do really feel for the residents of Strathcona, and in fact, I have been down and met with a number of homeowners in the area, local business improvement associations, and I do agree that the situation is worsening. The announcement 2 days ago with Minister Selina Robinson, that of the 450 units that will be funded by the province and the city, 100 of those will be ready in the spring. They're immediate emergency modular housing. But we do have to find a way to bridge that gap. I'm working on that this week. I do agree that this situation has now hit a different place, and you'll be hearing a lot more from me. I'm just working on exactly the details and coordinating with other agencies. But you will be hearing something from me in the coming days about our next step forward for Strathcona Park.
Lisa, do you have a follow-up?
I do, just for Premier and Mayor Kennedy. I mean, people are certainly excited to hear what might come next. But for you, Premier, is there some sort of provincial program that can be done? Because you're mentioning, of course, it's not just the two bigger cities. It's all across the province. But using like an emergency response type tangible, some place that people, I mean, camps aren't going to go anywhere. So putting some place where these people are getting the support that they need until there is some other support available that is more permanent.
Well, yeah, that's what we have been working on, and the evidence of success is, of course, the vacating of Oppenheimer and Topaz and Pandora in Victoria. But again, the problem has not diminished significantly as a result, and the vulnerable populations, the people, the brothers and sisters, let's keep that in mind. These are people who have found themselves in situations not necessarily of their making, and we need to find ways to address these challenges within the context of a global pandemic. So Mayor Kennedy Stewart and I and other mayors and Minister Robinson have been in consultation and discussions about next steps, and we'll have more to say in the weeks ahead. But we're certainly not finished, and we have much more work to do.
Our next question is from Dominique Arnoldi.
Yes, thank you for taking my question. Given the much lower ridership than normal due to COVID-19, how are we managing going ahead with an expansion like this? Is it really the time to do this? Should we wait? I would like an answer in French. I don't know if Misa Ladrak speaks French. If not, then in English, please.
He does. He speaks Dutch, if that helps. And I can order a meal in Dutch. But no, I will give you an English accent, or an English answer, I should say. Certainly, the time to invest in infrastructure is now, without any doubt. The job creation opportunities that were touched upon by some of the speakers are in the thousands. The opportunity to reduce emissions to meet our greenhouse gas targets through our Clean BC programs is profound. And building the new infrastructure is critically important. Your point that we've seen a decline in ridership during the pandemic is an appropriate one, and that's why we worked with the federal government in the Safe Restart plan that we coordinated to ensure that the province and the federal government is bringing resources to provide for the fare box drops that we've seen during the pandemic at TransLink and at BC Transit, as well as BC Ferries, and also, again, working with the federal government to assist cities like Vancouver, Surrey, Victoria, Kelowna, and small communities right across British Columbia with finding the resources to make up for the lost revenue because of the shutdown and the disruption in our traditional economic patterns. But those patterns will return. They may not be the same. We're not suggesting that getting back to normal is happening anytime soon, and what normal looks like, we're all hopeful will be better than what we had before. And in either scenario, we're going to need investments in public infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and most critically important, to move people around in major urban centers, public transit. So this is absolutely the time to make infrastructure investments. In the event that over a 5-year period on this project, I'm very confident that we'll be back to something resembling normal or a better build back than what we have expected.
Dominique.
I apologize for the absence of bilingual. Joyce, are you bilingual?
I can speak to that.
Do you want to give it a go? Sure.
So the question
was, is this the time to make investments in
yeah.
infrastructure?
Merci pour l'opportunité de répondre à cette question. Et évidemment, c'est une situation unique à la pandémie de COVID-19. Et nous croyons tous et toutes que c'est l'opportunité de reconstruire les éléments de notre société pour le mieux. Et c'est pour ça que l'infrastructure est si importante. C'est pour ça que nous allons investir dans les villes et les provinces. Nous avons octroyé 2 milliards de dollars pour les provinces, les territoires, ainsi pour les villes telles que la ville Vancouver. Et c'est pour faire justement leur appuyer en livrant les services nécessaires pour les citoyens, pour faire plus fortes les communautés, les collectivités et la santé et bien-être des citoyens du Canada à travers le pays.
And Dominique, do you have a follow-up?
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, we're going to go to Amy Smart next.
Hi, Premier. I have a question about pandemic pay. Essential workers were promised it early in the pandemic. First, they were told June, then August. They still haven't been paid. What message do you have for them about, I guess, what kind of priority the government puts on this?
Well, certainly making sure, and we were, Minister Murray and I and Mayor Stewart were talking about the importance of CERB, the importance of the rent relief package that we put in place, the only province to do so, making sure that those that were dislocated because of the pandemic had resources in their pockets, but also ensuring that those that were putting themselves at risk, the frontline workers, certainly in the healthcare sector, but also in other endeavors that we came to know most acutely during the pandemic were critical to our well-being. That be those that work in the grocery sector, truckers, a whole host of employees. And if there are examples of pandemic pay not reaching those individuals, I certainly want to hear about it. And I'd welcome anything you could provide us in writing on that, Amy. It's not an issue that I've been briefed on at this point.
Do you have a follow-up, Amy?
The BCGEU just put out a release yesterday about it, and I've spoken with a couple workers, but they're looking for, a specific date when it will be promised, and potentially like a little stipend in the meantime.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly go back and talk to the head of the public service and get an answer for that question, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you. The advantage of print is that if you're not going to the online right away, we'll hopefully be able to get you an answer before deadline.
And our last question today is from Keith Baldry.
Hi, Premier. Thanks for this. On Monday, Dr. Bonnie Henry called on British Columbians to, quote, slow down, to start limiting our interactions and our activities as we move into the respiratory illness season in the midst of a COVID pandemic. Given that advice, how does an election campaign fit into something like that? Is that something that could be done even following her advice to slow down?
Well, certainly my focus every day is on making sure we're delivering the services that British Columbians need. I'll continue doing that. Dr. Henry's counsel was wise, as we've seen in increasing cases. Keith, particularly where the demographic that's seeing the greatest increase, and we need to be able to better communicate with people that we need to take a step back and a pause in going all in on back to normal. And we need to remind ourselves every day that there are vulnerable people in the community. Ryan Reynolds' mom, David Suzuki, if I could go back to Deadpool's assistance in this regard, we need to remind ourselves that loved ones are at risk and we need to modify our behavior. With respect to an election campaign, I'm advised that there's an election underway right now in New Brunswick. There's an election upcoming in Saskatchewan, and Elections BC is prepared to provide a safe way to vote if that isn't something that comes up. But at this point, my focus is on making sure we're providing services for people. We want to see a good, safe start to our school year, and we want to make sure that everybody understands that we're all in this together, and we need to be mindful that it is not back to normal. We need to ensure that we keep the physical distancing, we're washing our hands, and we're wearing masks when we can't stay a distance away from other people that we don't know.
I do have a follow-up, Keith.
Yes, again, given Dr. Henry's call to slow down, can you today rule out having a provincial election at your own behest?
We have been a minority government for the past 3 years, which is a long, long time for a minority government. And we have been prepared for an election every day of that 3-year period. I think back, Keith, to 3 years ago, I think the shelf life of John Horgan government was supposed to be 6 weeks and then 6 months, and then now apparently it will go on forever. I think that the public understands the situation that we're in. They understand that the focus needs to be on making sure we're getting the economy back up and running, we're providing the services people need, and a key component of that is the restart of our K-12 system and our post-secondary as well.
Thanks, everyone. That's all the time we have.